Hey there, and welcome to Painting Section 9, or Ryuken Unit 9 as they like to call them. But let's face it, it's Major and Batou. First up then, I'm just going to block everything in, going into the dark greys. I'm going to look to take them to the sort of grey, purpley grey colour range that you see in the anime. And I'll use that as the base colours, and then I'll introduce whites and reds and all the rest of the details later. So I'll just get everything blocked in, I'll show you each step of the way, taking them up light, and then I'll probably to a light grey, and then I'll introduce a bit of purple knockback ink in this case, because I want it to have that purpley grey quality rather than a straight, what do you call it, grayscale, flat grey, monochrome, that's the word. Monochrome scale. So here's the blocked in charcoal grey on these guys, and next just going to get through all the highlighting phase on this before inking. I'll give you a show of how or what I've gone with the highlights, because I suspect some are going to go to a light grey, some will come up virtually to white, and it'll depend on whether I'm knocking it back with a purple or with a black ink. So ironically, the stuff that gets knocked back with a black ink will come up to a white highlight, whereas stuff getting knocked back with a purple ink will only come up to the grey highlight. And in this instance it'll probably just be dry brushes, or it will be dry brushes just up until I've got up to the lighter greys, and then introducing the whites and any other details, and possibly even the lightest tone of grey that I use. That will be done with a bit of brushwork. So I'll get that done, I'll be back in a moment. Here we have then, taken up to white. The highest white highlight is only on the weapons, and in the case of Batou on the right there, all of the musculature for his heavy armour. I assume it's heavy armour, or medium armour, but the musculature for his armour, because this will all go black eventually, so I want the white highlight to come through. In the case of Major Kusanagi, I should probably stop calling him this, but hell, I'm going to carry on calling him this anyway. Her mask, her gun, and her face I've introduced a bit of white to as well. You can see the pistol, and you can see the muscles on his ankle as well. I've all had them introduced. So next up I'm going to be introducing purple ink, and anything that's been taken up to white, again, as I've used before, I will probably I'm doing that so that I can introduce black ink wash on them, and I can still have a high contrast afterwards. But the other thing to note with this is using single directional dry brush. So a lot of the light highlight, like the final white, is all hand painted individually, but the rest of it, it's just using one direction. I'm always pulling the dry brush from the top of the miniature down, always top to the bottom, top to the bottom, top to the bottom. No sideways, no diagonals, always top to bottom. And this is just to make sure that I got the highlights on the top edges as such, and this keeps you keeps the colour gradation radiating from where you've put dark right in behind by painting in thoroughly, and then a rough dry brush in all directions, or a moist brush for the mid grey tone as such, which covers most of it but not all of it. And then just coming from the top down means that you end up not getting into all of the gaps. And then the white is being painted on because you want the white, I wanted the white to be quite dense, and when I was dry brushing with a very light grey, it didn't quite get to how I wanted it to be. So yeah, these are all ready for inking now, so I'll get on that, get it done, let them dry, and I'll come back to you with all of the different inks done. Because I'm going to use a mixture of, I'm going to use a thin purple ink just to, partly to blend the dry brush, because dry brush leaves you this kind of chalky, slightly mucky looking effect. So it's partly to blend that, and partly to just establish a base tonality. And the weapons, the reason I've got the white highlights is to maintain the colour range and the highlight range once you've applied black ink. So like I say, I'll get that done, I'll be back in a moment. Here we have it then, here's the purple ink. It's a purple that it's got a hint of black in it as well, just to keep it sort of on the neutral end of the spectrum. Those are the other things I've been doing. I have put white highlights back in on everything that's going to be going black, just because I want to keep all of the weapons and the details so that they come out. I don't have to re-highlight and cut in again later. And to be honest with you, the other thing that's quite nice about this is even if you rush it a little bit, so that you don't quite get all of the like immaculate perfect little edges and everything, there are places I've made messes. They're just not very obvious, which is how I like it. But nonetheless, next up, just going to block these in black, and then I'll start basing in all of the other colours. Although, to be honest with you, for these guys, it'll just be introducing some warm greys in for where stuff's going to go red, which is primarily just their shoulder pads and sort of bits and pieces of details on the arm. So, also blocking in flesh will need to be done on hair colours, and I'm undecided whether I'm going to be. It'll probably be a mixture of ink for her hair and blocking his hair in colour. Also carefully painting in his face because he has Batou's cyber eyes, and I think I'm going to try and just leave them in the grey tone, and I'll give them a final highlight later. First up though, putting in the black ink. Here we go then, blacked in all of the areas that I want black, all of the weapons and the muscle fibres for the powered or heavy armour or medium armour, whatever armour it is that Batou is wearing. And also, although I didn't highlight them with white, I did just run a black ink thinly over the belts and such forth. I am going to do final highlights on all these weapons. You can see that a lot of it has come out really quite well. I think like the pistols on the belt have actually come out fine. Don't need to do anything about that. I think Motoko's submachine gun as well has come out fine. Also, I'm really happy with this kind of purpley bluey grey. So next up, I will just be introducing the warm greys to everything that I want to go red, and blue greys to everything that I want to go white. And I'll probably use a pale blue grey rather than the opaque blue grey, because I want to keep this very light, kind of high contrast. Especially at this point. This has all come out really neatly, I think. The only other thing I'll be doing is introducing hair colour and skin colour. Although I'm almost tempted to leave her hair and just give it an ever so slightly darker wash to make it different from the clothing outfits. But in the anime, her hair is actually pretty much this colour. And that's kind of what I'm going for. So yeah, I'll block in the rest of the base colours, and that will be them all ready for the final stages of painting. Here we go then, base coating all complete. We're ready to move on to highlighting, finishing off, final toning, lighting, colouring, any text details, freehand stuff, which I'm going to be doing on shoulders and such forth. So yeah, here we have the rotations, and I do hope that this has been of some interest or use to you. You're painting minis just how you want them to be, and that they're coming out really great. The only thing that looks a bit funny at the moment on these guys is their eyes, and it's because of strong white of the eyes, but that'll all, you know, I'll put in pupils and all this, and that'll all change as it gets finished off. So thank you for watching, have a good one, take care, bye bye.